Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
Lane Yu never expected that he would meet his original strong enemy here, the Lord who controlled the chaotic beast. He remembered it very clearly. The heart sealed in the mechanical empire is in this person, and the emperors are also looking for his whereabouts. How dare you show up so easily? Isn't he afraid of being discovered by the emperors? Just thinking about it, the chaotic beast in front of him quickly retreated. On the opposite side of the Realm Alliance team, a young man with black eyes, and a group of chaotic beasts slowly appeared, looking at him calmly. We meet again. The voice of the dark-eyed young man was still the same as before, as if nothing could affect him. However, Lin Yu felt a faint murderous intention, which was locked on him without any concealment. Yes, in the entire world, apart from the great emperor, he was the only one who knew who had taken the heart. The other party obviously took a fancy to this and wanted to kill and silence him. You dare to appear here. Aren't you afraid that I will notify the emperor? Lin Yu looked solemnly and looked at the soldiers around him. Name, Chaos Beast. Lord, race, Chaos, Hero, Level 9, SS, Strength, Constitution, Agile, Spirit, Skills, Void, Chaos Body, Void/Dark Incarnation. Introduction: a ferocious beast condensed from the energy of chaos, possessing extremely powerful attack capabilities. SS level. Lin Yu's eyes narrowed. As expected, the opponent's unit has the same suffix as the monster, and has been upgraded to SS level. That is an average attribute of nearly 20,000. It is equivalent to his royal arms, and much higher than ordinary arms, certainly. Lin Yu is no longer the little 8th level lord with immature arms, although his attributes are a little worse. His number of soldiers has a huge advantage, so even if they fight, he is not afraid at all. It's useless. They can't find me. The dark-eyed young man spoke calmly, containing a strong sense of confidence. Lin Yu was shocked when he heard this. After the last battle, he already knew that the heart had a strong ability to conceal breath, but he didn't expect that he would be so strong that he wasn't even afraid of emperor-level detection. No wonder the other party appears here so confidently. He is obviously very confident in his ability to escape and hide. In this case, let me deal with you. Do it. There were old and new grudges, and Lin Yu stopped talking nonsense. With a loud shout, the gathered plant army turned into an encirclement and charged towards the black-eyed young man. Raging plants and sky-wide vines erupted, instantly covering the entire area, causing other surrounding lords to look over in fear. Tear them apart. The black-eyed young man narrowed his eyes, and thousands of lord-level soldiers appeared out of thin air. Just like in the mechanical empire, they turned into black afterimages and stormed out. Aha! The sharp claws cut through the air, and several sharp air blades erupted, as if the space was cut open. The ancient tree army headed by King Gong was not afraid at all. They activated the bark hardening skills one by one, and a deep green light appeared on their huge bodies. Boom! The violent collision resounded in the ears. The ancient tree legions were all shaken back several steps, and hideous cracks appeared on their bodies. The chaotic beast turned over in the air, fell to the ground and slid for several meters. The dark-eyed young man was slightly startled, looking a little surprised, as if he didn't expect that Lin Yu had grown enough to block his attack. Before he could think about it, the raging vines had already passed through the front row, and spread rapidly towards the chaotic beast close to the ground. Other long-range troops suddenly rose up, and large attacks fell from all directions. Blurred, suddenly, the bodies of those chaotic beasts turned into phantoms and disappeared. Lin Yu only felt a flash of black light in front of his eyes, and thousands of chaotic beasts teleported behind his long-range troops, with sharp claws slicing out. Boom! There was another violent collision. The symbiotic moss on those long-range soldiers directly activated the desperate secret treasure effect, converting all attributes into physiques, blocking this fatal blow. The next second, giant vines rushed out from the ground and penetrated the bodies of several of the chaotic beasts. But what Lin Yu didn't expect was, before he could be happy, those chaotic beasts disappeared again and teleported back to the black-eyed young man. But the evil aura on them was much weaker. What a strong vitality! Lin Yu was shocked. I thought that my strength had improved quickly enough, but I didn't expect that the opponent was not much weaker, and was even stronger than when they first met. Is this the bonus of that heart? Don't be careless. Seeing the opponent activate the virtualization skill again and disappear, an ice shield appeared all around. As expected, two chaotic beasts appeared behind him, their sharp claws imbued with evil energy, and they slashed at his head. There was only a violent explosion, and the ice shield broke with the sound, exploding a ball of terrifying cold air, freezing the chaotic beast that could not react in time. Immediately afterwards, Lingxi and Cannon, who had been waiting for a long time, took action instantly. As the sparks exploded, Two fierce attacks rushed over and penetrated the beast's head. Ouch! The ferocious beast howled miserably, and finally fell to the ground because it could not withstand the powerful attack, turning into a wisp of chaotic aura, and dissipating into the air. At the same time, behind the black-eyed young man, 3 rays of cold light flashed past, heading towards his vitals. Tear, a sharp thud. The black-eyed young man seemed to have expected a sneak attack. His body twisted and he avoided the killing blow of Wuying and its 2 clones. And the next second he avoided it, black light erupted from the 2 heroic chaotic beasts around him, one on the left and one on the right, and their claws tore the air around Wuying into pieces. Astonishingly, it is their 3rd skill, Void/Return. Lin Yu called urgently, telling Wuying to retreat. However, it was still a step too late. There was only a muffled sound of bang, and in an instant, Wuying's lower limbs were crushed by the void and flew out like rags. As an assassin-type soldier, Wuying's physique is still too low. Fortunately, King Gong at the front reacted in time and rushed forward to stop it. The gravity field was activated, pressing the 2 heroic chaotic beasts to the ground, and the momentum of the attack was stopped. Then a large number of vines emerged, bringing Wuying back to the rear for emergency treatment by the Flower Spirit Army. In just one confrontation, both sides suffered huge losses and no one benefited. The other arms were also fighting fiercely in every corner, and they were bombarding each other crazily. The overwhelming momentum and chaotic scene immediately made the other lords of both sides fighting nearby widen their eyes, and be extremely shocked. What a terrifying strength! To be able to fight to such an extent. Is this still a 9th level lord? I'm afraid those old monsters are nothing more than this, right? How come I've never heard of these 2 people before? Amidst the screams, they were also stunned by the battle scene between the 2, and hurried away with their troops, not daring to get even closer for fear of being involved. After Lin Yu and the black-eyed young man fought for several rounds, each of their troops suffered losses, but neither could do anything to the other. Seeing that the stalemate was deadlocked, the black-eyed young man's face finally darkened, and all the chaotic beasts roared, and turned into afterimages and gathered quickly. Is it coming? Lin Yu looked solemn, and he knew the other party's methods very well. The strength of the arms can be greatly improved through the fusion of 2, which can definitely be regarded as a very terrifying explosive ability. He has not used the Savage Roar just to counter this explosive method. He was even ready to throw out the recently collected corpses in the original space to improve Qingting's attributes. However, it was beyond Lin Yu's expectation. Just when he was about to go full blast and fight head-on with the opponent, the black-eyed young man, who was surrounded by the chaotic beasts, changed his expression, stopped the fusion of troops, and then looked up into the void. A terrifying feeling enveloped the world, suddenly covering the wasteland. It seems we can only fight here today. He withdrew his gaze and stared at Lin Yu closely. Subsequently, a large amount of evil energy emerged from his body, forming a dark space passage. Without thinking, he led his troops into it and disappeared. Obviously, a strong person noticed the abnormal aura here, and used perception to detect it, so he had to escape temporarily. Pity. Looking at the disappearing figure of the black-eyed young man, Lin Yu sighed secretly. If he had gone full blast just now, it's hard to say who would win, especially if the other party still carries that terrifying heart. There will definitely be endless troubles if he stays. Originally, he wanted to take this opportunity to kill the guy, but he didn't expect that the other party would be so cautious and would immediately run away if something went wrong, which made him feel solemn inside. This person, I'm afraid he will be a big enemy of him in the future. Feeling the powerful aura in the void constantly scanning the wasteland, Lin Yu didn't stay any longer. He immediately gathered up his troops and left the wasteland, rushing back towards the camp. No way. This matter is of great importance, so it is better to convey it quickly. If the Realm Alliance discovers the whereabouts of the heart, something big might happen. In the battle just now, although his troops suffered a lot of casualties, the losses were basically multiplied troops. As long as the energy is restored, they can split again, so it is not a serious problem soon. Lin Yu flew all the way on the Demon Ancestor Dragon, and returned to the war camp. He contacted Jixing through a private message, and told him about the whereabouts of his heart. But what he didn't expect was, at this time, Jixing was discussing matters beside Emperor Xinyao. Not long after the news was sent out, a loud roar like thunder suddenly came from my ears. Boy, come here. Lin Yu smiled helplessly, unable to recognize the voice of Emperor Xinyao. Before he could react, a big hand appeared out of thin air and grabbed his shoulder, pulling him into the void. When he stood still again, he had already appeared in a magnificent palace, with a lot of terrifying figures sitting around him. Astonishingly, they are emperors from all walks of life. Lin Yu didn't expect that Emperor Xinyao would directly bring him to the emperors from all walks of life, and he was suddenly shocked. Fortunately, Emperor Xinyao seemed to have expected this situation. With a wave of his hand, an invisible force enveloped him, and suppressed his divine aura. Lin Yu reacted and immediately bowed to the emperors beside him. I have met all the great emperors. No courtesy. We are all our own people here. Don't worry. Emperor Xinyao sat aside and waved to him with a smile. One of our own. Lin Yu was slightly startled, and couldn't help but look at the great emperors present. Almost all of them were from the human race, with only a few foreign races. It seems that he should be the emperor of the realm, who has good relations with their primitive realm. He finally felt relieved. Then, Emperor Xinyao changed his subject. Did you just send a message to Xing saying that you had found the whereabouts of the heart? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of all the emperors and kings present were focused on Lin Yu. Doubling his pressure, he glanced at Ji Xing, who was standing next to Emperor Xinyao, and when he saw Ji Xing slightly nodding to him, he took a deep breath and said, yes, and I just fought against the owner of the heart. Have you fought against him? Emperor Xinyao looked surprised. The expressions of other great emperors beside them also changed slightly. Did you really meet that heart? Immediately, a great emperor asked. They all know how powerful that heart's hidden ability is. Now it is lurking in the body of a lord, hidden in all the worlds, and it is even more difficult to detect. Even though they are great emperors, they cannot use their senses to search for everyone in the world. This is tantamount to finding a needle in a haystack. Yes, Lin Yu remained humble. I was at the scene when the heart broke free from the seal, so I will never admit my mistake. There is no doubt about this. Emperor Xinyao nodded slightly. You may not know yet, but it was this boy who discovered the location of the seal, and reported it to us. Is this happening? I see. You really have a good seed in the primitive world. All the great emperors suddenly realized. Even the kings nearby couldn't help but glance at Lin Yu, and sighed secretly in their hearts. He was actually able to fight against the host of that terrifying heart without losing. Why are there no such young talents in their realm? It's really irritating to see people compare to each other. When Emperor Xinyao saw their expressions, he didn't know what they were thinking, and his face suddenly flushed. Haha, I don't know if he is a good young man or not, but this kid is usually restless and can always cause a lot of messy things. His words were full of pride, and the smile on his face was a little thicker. Their great emperor has really not changed at all. He has always been so good-looking. Lin Yu couldn't help but complain secretly in his heart, but right away, Emperor Xinyao suppressed his smile and looked at him. Tell the emperors exactly what happened when you met the host of that heart. Yes, in front of the emperors from all walks of life, Lin Yu naturally couldn't lose his etiquette, so he quickly handed over his hand, and then began to tell everything about what he had just encountered. Even the discoveries made during the battle were blurted out. When the emperor and kings heard his words, their expressions changed again and again, especially when he heard that the opponent's troops were lords like monsters. He had a violent reaction that even Lin Yu had not expected. Lord-level arms. Are you sure? One of the emperors from the Feather Clan stood up suddenly, and stared at Lin Yu, with his sharp eyes. The terrifying aura made Lin Yu feel as if the space was about to freeze, and it became difficult to breathe. However, he still nodded seriously and replied, yes, and it seems to be related to the Breath of Chaos. It has grown to SS level. The Breath of Chaos. Now we're in trouble. The human emperor slowly sat back down, his expression extremely solemn. There are also several powerful and senior human emperors nearby who also look worried. What's wrong? Is there any problem? Emperor Xinyao asked. He had just become emperor, so he didn't know much about many things. The same was true for the 11th and 10th level kings, who all looked over in confusion. Feeling their gazes, the emperor of the Feathered Clan slowly explained, you may not know that our ancestors of the Feathered Clan left a message 10,000 years ago. The person who suppressed the people under the monster plane originally used chaos arms. You sure? Emperor Xinyao's expression changed. The kings were even more shocked, not to mention Lin Yu, who was already frozen in place by the news. The terrifying existence that suppressed the monster plane also used chaos troops. This is not good news. No wonder that guy could fuse with that terrifying heart so easily. There might be some close connection that he didn't know about. Unfortunately, just when he wanted to know more, Emperor Xinyao suddenly turned back and looked at him and Ji Xing. You all go back first. I will find you later. As soon as he finished speaking, he couldn't help but wave his hand and sent them away directly. By the time Lin Yu came to his senses, he was already standing in the cross-border teleportation array. Is it because he is too weak and not qualified to know the deeper secrets of the world? Once again, Lin Yu felt deeply powerless about his low strength. Sure enough, if you want to know more secrets and get rid of the constraints of the rules, you still have to continuously improve your strength. Don't think too much. The Emperor certainly has his reasons for not letting us listen. Ji Xing seemed to have noticed Lin Yu's thoughts, and said in a low voice, yes, I understand. Lin Yu nodded silently, and then followed Ji Xing out of the teleportation array. After arriving outside, He suddenly spoke again. King, I have something to ask. Is it convenient? What's up? It's about the arms. After the 10th level, is there something like an arms upgrade scroll? The troop upgrade scrolls that Lin Yu had collected in the battlefields of all realms could only be upgraded to the 9th level. So now, in addition to accumulating faith, he also has to find a way to upgrade the royal arms to 10th level. Otherwise, each unit upgrade requires 1000 9th level essences and 1 rule fragment, which he cannot afford. Have you started thinking about the 10th level now? Ji Xing said in surprise. He had no doubt that Lin Yu could reach the 10th level, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. After all, he is very clear about the difficulty of the tasks on the Saints' Road, and has experienced it himself, because even he had spent nearly 20 years to finally successfully condense the fragments of his godhead with a method far superior to that of other lords. Even a man of destiny, like Emperor Xinyao, spent 2 full years. But now Lin Yu has only been promoted to the 9th level for more than a month. It's not that fast, Lin Yu said awkwardly. I just wanted to ask in advance so that I can be prepared. That's true. Ji Xing nodded slightly. Foresight was one of the reasons why he admired Lin Yu. Many lords didn't even dare to think that they could condense the fragments of the godhead, let alone prepare for the 10th level. So after thinking for a while, he said, there are similar things, but they are very rare. You have to kill monsters above the 10th level leader to get them, and the price is very expensive. How expensive is it? Lin Yu asked. Last time I made a move, and sold 5 rule fragments. Fragments of rules. Yes. 10th level transactions are no longer just about magic power. Rule fragments are also a major currency. However, these tradable rule fragments are not exclusive and cannot be used to complete the path of sainthood for 9th level lords. I see. Lin Yu suddenly realized what he said. After completing the path of saint, he already knew that the rule fragment obtained by independently killing the 10th level leader monster was recognized by the rules and bound to the Lord himself, so it could be used to condense the godhead. Without the Saint's Path mission, the rule fragments dropped by killing 10th level monsters normally are ownerless things. He didn't expect that this thing would become the currency in circulation after level 10. In doubt, he couldn't help but ask, how much magic energy is equivalent to that piece of rule fragment? 1 billion, and there is a price but no market. 1 billion. Lin Yu was shocked. Doesn't this mean that a 10th level upgrade scroll will be sold for 5 billion mana? To upgrade the 9 royal arms to the 10th level, a total of 45 billion is needed, and it's still priceless. Don't be surprised, the price is already cheap, because after many lords reach the 10th level, they will choose to retain a few hero units with excellent exclusive skills and upgrade them to the 10th level. If there is more demand, it will naturally be more expensive. If you have rule fragments, there are many people willing to exchange them with you. Rule fragments. Lin Yu was silent. He almost lost half his life, and a large number of troops just for the piece he needed for the road to becoming a saint. Where can he get more pieces? Pity. Before he could ask any more questions, Ji Xing continued, okay, I have something to deal with first. I'll talk to you about the 10th level when I get the chance. After saying that, he flashed and disappeared directly, without giving Lin Yu a chance to ask any more questions. There was obviously something urgent to do. Lin Yu had no choice but to hold back a bunch of questions, then took a look at the sky, and prepared to go to the station to see if there were any suitable battlefield commissions. Unexpectedly, at this time, there was a sudden boom in the sky, and a black light curtain fell from the sky and crashed onto the mainland, causing the entire battlefield to shake violently. What happened? What happened? Could it be that the Realm Alliance is attacking? No, look at the sky. Lords from all walks of life kept exclaiming and ran out of their stations one after another, looking up to the sky one by one. In the endless void, a glazed pagoda slowly fell down in the light curtain, exuding a unique and thick aura. It happened to fall in the middle of the wasteland at the junction of the two armies. Lin Yu stood among the crowd, looking at the glazed pagoda falling from the sky, feeling extremely surprised, because that pagoda is not something in the demon-subduing realm, but directly across the void and appears in this realm out of thin air. And the landing position was a bit too coincidental. It is right in the center of the border between the two armies. He believed in the offensive methods of the Realm Alliance. And at this time, above the war camp, hundreds of figures suddenly appeared. Emperors and kings from all walks of life rushed over, all looking at the glazed pagoda solemnly. Even Emperor Xinyao, who was supposed to be discussing matters, was among them. It's unmistakable. It's the Chaos Treasure. Chaos Treasure? Didn't you say that thing hasn't appeared for tens of thousands of years? The treasure of chaos will only appear when the world is about to undergo drastic changes. It represents the change of destiny in the world. This is not a good sign, but I heard that the chaos treasure contains information about the origin of all worlds, and even the key to reaching that level. Let's go and take a look first. As soon as the words fell, the emperor and the kings tore apart the space and disappeared. Before leaving, a loud voice spread throughout the war camp. Everyone, gather at the center of the battlefield. Gathering at the center of the battlefield. Isn't that where the glazed pagoda is? The lords from all walks of life were shocked and looked at each other, but right away they became excited and expectant. Even the great emperors have come forward in person. The glazed pagoda must be very complicated. You may not be able to get any precious treasures or great opportunities in it. Otherwise, the emperors would not let them gather there. After the commotion, the lords mounted their mounts and hurried towards the central wasteland. In the blink of an eye, the entire war camp became very lively, and soldiers and mounts continued to emerge, almost all over the sky and the earth, accompanied by the shouts of the lords. Lin Yu. At this time, Yan Lai, Situ Jian and Ji Yunshuang also came from the station to join Lin Yu. You are here too. Lin Yu looked at them. Why don't we go there together first? Let's talk about anything on the way. Yan Lai suggested. Okay, let's go over first and see what's going on. Lin Yu nodded. Then the four of them stopped talking nonsense and directly summoned their mounts to fly into the air, quickly catching up with the other lords. It wasn't until he was far away from the war camp that Situ Jian took the lead to speak out. As far as I know, this tower should be something called the Treasure of Chaos. I have heard my father mention the Chaos Treasure before. It seems to be an ancient thing that predates the birth of all worlds. Ji Yunshuang's voice came next. Earlier than the birth of Wanji. Lin Yu was shocked when he heard this. Considering the identities of Situ Jian and Ji Yunshuang, it is obviously impossible to hear this from hearsay. That is to say, this is indeed the case. Something older than all worlds. How mysterious an existence must it be? I didn't expect that this kind of thing would appear on the battlefield in their realm, which is a bit incredible, and I don't know if there will be any big opportunities in it. As if to respond to his thoughts. At this time, Situ Jian continued, this tower appeared once thousands of years ago. After that, great changes occurred in all realms, resulting in a large amount of missing history. The monster plane was also born at that time. It is said that as long as you can climb to the top of the tower, you can gain power that transcends the rules of this world. I don't know if it is true. Come on, at our level, it's hard to go up 10 levels, but we're still out of this world. Yan Lai on the side couldn't help but pour a basin of cold water on him. I have also heard this rumor. It seems that when this tower came thousands of years ago, no one in the world could climb to the top of the tower. Ji Yunshuang said immediately. No one, not even the emperor. Lin Yu was shocked when he heard this. There are so many lords of all races in the entire world, but not even one can climb to the top of the tower. You can imagine how terrifying this difficulty is. Certainly, Situ Jian and Ji Yunshuang only listened to some fragments of the words. They didn't know much about the tower, so they just talked about it as anecdotes, just chatting all the way while rushing on the road. They soon followed the large army to the central wasteland. Just as they passed the outer edge of the wasteland, they saw the armies of the two camps gathering at both ends of the vast wasteland, facing each other across the glazed pagoda. In the void, there are countless stalwart figures standing in the air. The auras on each of them are surging and colliding violently in the air, making the surrounding air tremble slightly. It's the Realm Alliance. I didn't expect them to move so quickly. Situ Jian's eyes sharpened and he said in a deep voice, it seems that they are also eyeing the Chaos Treasure. We can bring together armies from both sides. It seems like things are not simple. Don't get separated later. If a fight breaks out, there will be someone to take care of you. After that, the four of them drove their flying mounts to the ground, merged into the rear of the anti-alliance camp army, and soon found the primitive world team. You are here, among the 10th level kings in front of the team. Jixing turned back and looked at them. To be precise, he looked at his daughter Ji Yunshuang. Dad, are we going to war with the Realm Alliance? Several people followed Ji Yunshuang to Jixing's side. After all, Jixing is now considered one of the people in charge of the primitive world. Following him, you may be able to find out more useful information as expected. Jixing just glanced at them and said, there is no chance of starting a war. The emperors of both sides are currently negotiating, and the result should be announced soon. Negotiation? Is it for this tower? Lin Yu asked in surprise. He couldn't help but look at the 13-story tower that was shrouded in black light and stood between heaven and earth. Yes, just for this Tower of Luck. I don't know why it appears in a place like this, but this tower is related to the change of destiny in the entire world. It will determine the strength of the realm based on the number of floors climbed by the tower climber, and then allocate luck. It can be said that this is an excellent opportunity for our primitive world, and even the entire world, to turn around in one fell swoop. Ji Xing's tone was extremely solemn, and his thick, slightly gray eyebrows were knitted together, showing a more serious side than before. When Lin Yu and the others heard this, they were all shocked. Tower of Luck. It's about the change of destiny in all realms. How could this treasure of chaos be so powerful? To know the amount of luck is directly related to the strength of the realm, because the deeper the luck, the richer the resources in the realm, and the chance of an emperor appearing will be greatly increased. Just like the 10 realms, it is currently the realm with the deepest destiny among all realms. The basic resources in realm range alone are several times that of their original realm. If their luck in the primitive world could be improved to this level, not to mention that the emperor can be born immediately, but at least there is no problem in improving the overall strength of the lord by a large margin. Just like Ji Xing said, this is a battle of fate that affects all realms. No wonder even the Realm Alliance has become so calm and has not launched a direct attack on them. Shocked, Lin Yu couldn't help but look at the top of the Tower of Luck. I saw a broken void above the top of the tower surrounded by colorful halos. Gray silk threads spread out from the top of the tower, and they were thousands of strands, weaving into a magnificent network in the void, as if transporting something in all directions. One of the weak silk threads happened to be connected to the demon-subduing world continent underneath, which made people wonder. Everyone, hurry up and prepare. There may be a battle when we enter the tower later, and the higher the level you climb, the higher the reward you will get in the end. It is even possible to get rule fragments directly, so whether it's for yourself or for the realm, work hard. Ji Xing's voice, without deliberately lowering it, spread throughout the entire 9th level team, causing an uproar. Even Lin Yu and the others were shocked and their eyes suddenly widened. There are actually rule fragment rewards? Yan Lai asked in shock, his breathing becoming much faster. The other lords on the side also looked eagerly awaiting his arrival, with all their eyes focused on Ji Xing. There is indeed a precedent for obtaining rule fragments in the Tower of Luck. Facing Evrion's gaze, Ji Xing's expression remained unchanged. Of course, that's news from tens of thousands of years ago, so it's not necessarily accurate. And if you want to get this kind of reward, at the 9th level, you probably have to reach the 10th level. The 10th floor. Lin Yu and others were silent. This Tower of Luck has a total of 13 floors, and the 10th floor is only 3 floors away from the top. You can imagine how difficult it is. And they don't know the specific rules for climbing the tower yet. Unfortunately, without waiting for them to ask more questions, the emperors from both camps in the sky had reached a consensus and returned to the teams in their respective realms. And the one who appeared in front of the primitive world team was naturally Emperor Xinyao. Emperor Xinyao looked around and said loudly, "Every king should have told you what needs to be said. They are from the primitive world. Follow me into the tower and let them see the strength of our primitive world." Set off. After giving the order, he turned around and walked through the black sky. Together with several other emperors and kings, he rushed into the Tower of Luck. Then Lin Yu and the team saw a few lines of information suddenly appearing on the wall on the first floor of the Tower of Luck. Level 12, Beast God Realm 1, Primitive Realm 1, Taitsong Realm 1. Level 11, Deep Sea Realm 1, Yuan Zun Realm 1. Level 10, the Realm of Nothingness 1. Obviously, this records the number of lords that exist in each realm in this layer, and it is also divided according to level. Could it be that, when lords of each level enter the tower, will they encounter different challenges? Thinking of this, Lin Yu couldn't help but look forward to it. Without stopping any longer, they followed the large army through the black light curtain and rushed toward the entrance of the Tower of Luck. In the blink of an eye, the armies of the two camps met within the black light curtain, and the atmosphere instantly became extremely tense. "Come on, everyone go in," Ji Xing said in a deep voice from the front, and then walked towards the Tower of Luck. The weird thing is, as soon as he got close, he disappeared in front of everyone. Teleport. Lin Yu and the others behind were surprised and cautiously approached the tower. As he continued to get closer, Lin Yu felt the heavy aura above the tower more deeply. Just like when the world was born, the simple and desolate feeling makes people feel solemn, and the tower is very huge. It almost occupies several kilometers in the center of the wasteland, and is supported by a patch of light underneath. When I stood closer, I felt a sense of oppression. I couldn't see the top of the tower, just like a tower reaching the sky. "Would you like to enter the Tower of Luck?" At this moment, a prompt sounded. Lin Yu hesitated and then chose yes. The next second, the picture in front of him was distorted, and a dazzling light lit up, forcing him to subconsciously raise his hands to cover his eyes. When he stood still again, a series of prompts suddenly came to his ears. "Dear Lord, you have successfully entered the first floor of the Tower of Luck. The Tower of Luck has a total of 13 floors, and you will encounter different opponents and tests on each floor. If you pass the test, you can directly enter the next level. If you fail the test or are killed, you will not die, but you will be forcibly teleported out of the tower. Each person can only participate in one test per day, and rewards will be distributed based on the final level. Are the tests different for each level? After hearing the prompt, Lin Yu couldn't help but look around, and found that he was in a desert with undulating sand dunes. At the end of the desert, you can vaguely see giant trees rising from the ground, which seems to be a forest. In the other direction, there are numerous mountains and mist-shrouded mountains. In short, the environment is very strange, and what surprised Lin Yu was that the space inside the tower was countless times larger than what was seen outside, as if it was a space of its own. Before he could think more, another reminder sounded in his mind. Please note that the first level test of the Tower of Luck and the Lord's Hunting Ground are open. Here you will meet all lords of the same level. Kill 20 enemies, and you can enter the next level of test. There is no time limit. Do you need to kill 20 enemies to get to the next level? Lin Yu was shocked. The first level of the test was so difficult. How could he pass the subsequent levels? I'm afraid I'm not going to fight a 10th level monster alone. What made him even more unexpected was that there was no way to summon troops in the tower, and he could only fight through the Lord's own strength. This first level is simply a chaotic battle between lords from all walks of life, and it seems that all the 9th level lords have been teleported into this space, and they have to hide themselves quickly. Think about it. Lin Yu immediately started to take action, put the 9th level Ice Soul Sword on his waist, and rushed towards the forest area at the end of the desert. In an environment like the desert, there are too few places to hide, and it is easy to be exposed. And the most terrible thing is that the environment here is very hot. When your feet step on the hot sand, it feels like fried squid, making a sizzling sound. If he hadn't become stronger than an ordinary person after reaching the 9th level, he probably wouldn't have been able to withstand it for long. Whoosh! At this moment, a sound broke through the air. From the sand dune next to him, a hidden sword suddenly shot out, heading straight for his vitals. With quick eyes and quick hands, Lin Yu drew out his Ice Soul Sword and held it in front of him, when there was a loud noise, and Lin Yu was knocked back 2 steps, and the sword in his hand buzzed. The opponent is very strong. He glanced sharply and looked towards the direction where the hidden blade was shot, as if knowing that this attack would not work. The sand dune exploded as soon as the hidden sword landed. A thin figure was holding a dagger, and his whole body turned into sharp arrows and swooped towards him. His reaction was very fast, and he knew at a glance that this person was not a simple person. Lin Yu wanted to take action, but was suddenly stunned, because he found that he couldn't see the other person's face clearly. It was as if he was wrapped by an invisible force, blocking his sight. He could only tell whether the other person was a boy or girl based on his appearance. Is it the anti-cheating mechanism in the tower? Without giving him a chance to think about it, the cold dagger pierced his heart, forcing him to turn sideways to avoid it. At the same time, the Bingso sword suddenly lifted up, bringing with it a cold air, when there was another collision, and the air waves of the collision set off a turbulent wind and sand beneath their feet. Lin Yu, who did not use the power of rules, was knocked out. The opponent, on the other hand, relied on his dexterous movements to spin in the air, bowed and landed on the ground, sinking his feet deeply into the sand dunes. Feeling the vibration of the dagger in his hand, and the numbness coming from the tiger's mouth, he stopped attacking. Instead, he slowly stood up straight, and stared at Lin Yu solemnly. You are strong. The voice sounds very sophisticated, the same as you. Lin Yu looked at him with interest, and then asked, I have a question. Can you see what I look like? Cannot see. The other party's words were very concise. When Lin Yu heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. There's no way to see his appearance clearly. Doesn't that mean that he can use the power of rules at will and no one will know it's him? Originally, he felt that he was weaker because he was unable to summon troops, but if he could use the power of rules, the result would be different. He now has a total of 4 fragments of his godhead. With the blessing of 40% attributes, his basic strength is comparable to those of the 9th level Old Lords. If he uses the 4-leaf clover protection skill, all attributes will be increased by 30%, and there will be an explosion of savage roar, which will definitely make him stand out from the lords of the world. The most important thing is that he can also use a lot of long-range attacks and healing skills without worrying about being seen. How about we go our separate ways? The young man didn't know what Lin Yu was thinking, so he said cautiously, okay. Lin Yu nodded silently. Now the test has just begun. Many things have not yet been understood, and he is not in a hurry to start immediately. In addition, the opponent was not weak and it might not be easy to kill, so I gave up this plan. After all, the power of rules is limited, and it will take time to recover. Don't waste it if you can. Looking at each other warily, the two gradually distanced themselves and rushed in different directions, just walking all the way in the desert. Finally, More than 10 minutes later, Lin Yu came to a desert oasis. However, before he could observe the surrounding environment, there were sudden sounds of shouts and weapons clashing in the oasis. Someone is fighting. Lin Yu's expression turned stern, and he immediately restrained his breath and approached the source of the sound. Not a moment, a large group of figures fighting in the melee came into view. There were more than 20 of them, and they were obviously attracted by the iconic landscape of the oasis. Go to hell. Just hearing one of the shirtless men shout loudly, the heavy sword in his hand penetrated directly through the body of the other lord. Then Lin Yu saw that the lord did not die directly, but was wrapped in a wave of energy and disappeared instantly. Sure enough, as the prompt said, killing will not kill anyone. It will only force teleportation away from here. No wonder these people work so hard. There are no worries, and the 9th level lords, who fight for their lives, are not simple things. If they are not careful, they may capsize in the ditch. As soon as Lin Yu appeared, he was immediately targeted by 2 lords, one on the left and the other on the right. There is someone here to die. Let's get rid of him first. With a loud shout, the soles of their feet exploded, and they turned into aftermages and rushed over. Although Lin Yu couldn't see the specific appearance of the other party, he could imagine the ferocious expression. His face darkened, and the 4-leaf clover's protection was activated, and his whole bodice aura suddenly increased. As soon as the 2 of them arrived in front of them, the Ice Soul Sword in their hands suddenly slashed out, as if tearing the air, and pointed directly at the abdomen of one of them. The man was obviously not mediocre. Feeling the powerful power contained in the Ice Soul Sword, he was startled at first and immediately placed the shield on the back of his hand in front of him. Chiong! A harsh collision exploded in the center. The terrifying power turned into air waves and swept around, causing the plants nearby to stagger. Another person took this opportunity and slashed out with a long sword, and a fierce sword energy hit Lin Yu's face. It's actually a weapon with sword energy attack. Lin Yu's expression changed slightly, and he leaned forward to avoid the sword energy. Then he put one hand on the ground, turned over and jumped to the side, widening the distance between him and the 2 people. It's useless. You can't escape. The 2 people obviously reached a consensus, and did not attack each other. Instead, they raised their weapons and attacked Lin Yu quickly again. With 2 swipes of swords, 2 more sword energy swept out, blocking Lin Yu's retreat. The other person, holding a knife in one hand and a shield in the other, charged and stabbed him directly. That unreserved look clearly convinced him. In this case, he has nothing to hold back. With a wave of his hand, the ground exploded, and a large number of vines rushed out from the ground, instantly blocking the 2 men's attack. What? The expressions of the 2 people who were originally confident of winning changed. Before they could react, the soles of their feet collapsed at the same time, and vines quickly wrapped around their feet. Tear! The sword-wielding lord reacted quickly, splitting the vines with a burst of sword energy, and dodging to the side. But the lord, who was carrying heavy equipment, like a shield, was half a beat too slow and was immediately tangled in vines. Just as he was about to break free from the restraints, Lin Yu teleported behind him at some point and drew out the Ice Soul Sword in his hand. Puff! The sound of flesh being pierced was heard. The lord's eyes widened and he stared in disbelief at the tip of the ice blue knife that passed through his chest. The next second, he was teleported directly out of the tower and lost the qualification for the test. The power of rules. How can you use the power of rules? The remaining sword-wielding lord was shocked and hurriedly distanced himself from Lin Yu. His exclamation also attracted the attention of other lords nearby, and they happened to see the vines sprouting in front of Lin Yu, and the large leaves floating above him. Whoosh whoosh. There was a sound of breaking through the air, and all the leaves turned into sharp arrows, shooting straight at the fleeing sword-wielding lord. Just as he was about to avoid it, his head suddenly suffered a heavy blow, and fell into a brief blank. Puff! There was another sound of flesh being cut open. A cloud of blood mist burst out from the throat of the sword lord. The whole person was teleported outside at once. This is the power of rules. Among the group of lords who were fighting fiercely, there were many who knew the power of rules very well. They immediately felt the power contained in Lin Yu's attack, and their eyes suddenly widened. When the others heard their exclamations, they were also shocked, and stopped one after another. But they are 9th level lords after all, and their minds are not comparable to those of ordinary people. After the shock, they immediately reacted, and looked at each other, seeming to have reached some kind of consensus. At this moment, go together, get rid of him first. While shouting, more than a dozen 9th level lords turned their spearheads, and quickly surrounded Lin Yu. Obviously, they wanted to gather their strength to eliminate the big threat of Lin Yu first. This is good for them and good for their realm. Otherwise, if this kind of person is left alone, he will definitely take away a lot of luck and must not keep it. Go to hell. I saw the naked man leaping high, and the sharp heavy sword, which was as tall as a man, suddenly struck Lin Yu's head from top to bottom. Lin Yu didn't expect that they would react so quickly, and besiege him. Seeing the heavy sword falling from the sky, he raised his hand and blocked it with a turtle shield, and a mirror wall in front of him. Boom! Click! There was a violent collision, accompanied by a burst of shattering sounds. The extremely strong turtle shield mirror wall was blasted with large cracks at once, spreading like a spider web, and almost unable to hold up. What a powerful force! Lin Yu's heart trembled. This big man's strength is definitely at the forefront of the 9th level. No wonder he was able to kill other lords so easily just now. He really had 2 brushes, but it's not enough to kill him just based on this level. Seeing other people drawing weapons and surrounding them from all directions, Lin Yu's eyes were like lightning. He pressed one hand on the ground, and a large number of vines suddenly rushed out from around his body, shooting towards them. Careful. It's a plant-based attack method. Several lords warned in alarm, dodging the vines with their dexterous reactions, and dodging to the side. Some even slashed out with their swords, splitting the vines into 2 pieces, and then rushed towards Lin Yu again, with fierce attacks suddenly erupting. Whoosh! At this moment, 2 arrows pierced the air and came suddenly. Surprisingly, at the back of the team was an elf lord, who drew his bow and arrow to the full moon. Lin Yu has long heard about the elves' innate shooting ability. In just a breath, the 2 arrows were aimed at his left and right sides, one after the other. Wherever the arrow went, the space became distorted, and there was even a burst of space. Shadow kill. Lin Yu didn't hesitate and activated his shadow killing skill. The moment he was hit by a bow and arrow, his entire body turned into an afterimage and disappeared. No, it's a displacement skill. Several of the lords who rushed forward were thrown into the air. The 2 arrows sank into the ground with 2 clanging sounds, and their tails swung violently. The elf lord was obviously stunned for a moment, not expecting that Lin Yu would avoid his attack in this way, but the next second, his expression changed drastically, and he felt a sharp cold air coming from behind him, making him tremble all over. Almost out of instinct, he turned around, held the bow, an arrow in front of him, and rushed out. Puff! However, a large knife filled with cold energy still penetrated through his chest, causing his movements to stop suddenly. The elf lord turned around in shock and found that the one who attacked him in the first place was just a phantom clone, but the real Lin Yu had been waiting in the direction in which he was retreating. He raised his knife and took him away with one blow. Although the elf lord was unwilling to do anything, he was still wrapped in light and forced to teleport away from here. It all happened so suddenly that the remaining lords didn't even react. By the time they came to their senses, the elf lord had already disappeared. Is this the power of rules? So fast? Could he be one of those perverts from the 10 realms? The lords were shocked, and no one dared to take action easily. They have been in the world for so long, and naturally they have heard about some lords who can use the power of rules before they reach the 10th level. For example, in the 10 major realms, there are several amazingly talented people who independently killed the 10th level leader monster at the 9th level and successfully condensed their godhood. These people, basically, he is a candidate for king. As long as nothing unexpected happens, the establishment of a principality in the future is almost a certainty. But even so, the strength of those geniuses should not be so abnormal. After all, a piece of Godhead fragment only increases the power by 10%. Before upgrading to the 10th level, this level of improvement should not be so exaggerated. He could even kill a lord of the same level with one blow. When did such a perverted 9th level lord appear in this world? They were puzzled, but they understand that if the fight continues like this, even if they have more people, they will probably pay a very heavy price. It's only the first floor of the Tower of Luck now, so there's no need to be so desperate. So gradually, many people began to think about retreating, and slowly retreated. Withdraw, someone yelled, and all the lords scattered and gave up their plan of siege. The decisive action made them all disappear in the blink of an eye, running pretty fast. Lin Yu looked strange. As expected, no lord who can reach the 9th level is a fuel-efficient lamp. Seeing that the opportunity was bad, he ran away without even hesitating. It seems that he should hide his strength a little bit. In this way, you can show the enemy's weakness, and then kill him with one strike while he is unprepared. He also heard clearly the conversation between the several lords just now. As they wish, is there someone in the 10 realms who, like him, has independently killed the 10th level leader monster and completed the path to sainthood? If this is the case, then his fragment of Godhead is not unique. In this trial, I am afraid that I will encounter other 9th level lords who have fragments of the Godhead, so it seems that I have to be careful. After thinking about it, I simply repaired it next to the oasis, and then continued to the forest area. Along the way, he encountered several lord sneak attacks, and contributed 4 kills to him. It wasn't until more than half an hour passed that we finally left the desert area, and arrived at the outskirts of the forest. What surprised Lin Yu very much, the entire forest is actually filled with towering ancient trees hundreds of meters high. The trunks of those ancient trees are surprisingly large, crisscrossing each other in the air, and even allowing people to walk easily on them. It looks like a magical forest. I don't know how Yanlai and the others are doing now. Looking at the dense forest in front of him, Lin Yu murmured in a low voice. The space in this tower was so large that he didn't encounter any lords from the primitive world along the way, let alone Yanlai and the others. But with the strength of those guys, as long as you are careful, you should have no problem getting through the first level. Maybe we can meet them at the top by then. Quick! She ran over there. Suddenly, a shout interrupted Lin Yu's thoughts. Several figures appeared in the crisscrossing forest, approaching him quickly. Is there another prey coming? Lin Yu's eyes lit up, and he immediately withdrew his figure and hid above the big tree on one side. It was only then that he finally saw those figures clearly. It turned out that 3 fat and strong men were chasing a weak woman, and murderous curses were constantly coming from their mouths. You bitch! If you dare to kill people from our Taixuan realm, you can't escape. Do you think you can escape from our clutches? The outskirts of the forest are just ahead. Let me see where you can escape. Taixuan realm. Lin Yu's eyes gradually narrowed. It's really a narrow road between enemies. Originally, he planned to see the situation and consider whether to take action. Since he was from the Taixuan realm, there was nothing to say. Immediately, he suppressed his breath and followed the intertwined tree trunks to the top of the path that several people must pass. Vaguely, one could already hear the gasping sound of the female lord approaching as she staggered over the rugged roots of the ancient tree. Through the gaps in the tree trunks, looking down from a high position, he just happened to see a piece of white snow shaking, which almost blinded him. Depend on. Don't look at anything inappropriate. Lin Yu quickly calmed down and looked into the distance. I saw that the momentum of the 3 Taixuan realm lords was not weak, and their speed was even a few points faster than the female lord, and they gradually formed an encirclement around her. Haha, little girl, you can't run anymore, are you? One of the strong men holding a mace laughed loudly, and finally caught up with her. The huge club suddenly fell towards the female lord. Without any sign of mercy, boom, there was a loud bang. The female lord dodged the attack, but was thrown away by the aftermath. She hit the tree trunk next to her, and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Take this opportunity. 3 Taixuan realm lords immediately surrounded her and completely blocked her retreat. Run! Why don't you run? Wasn't it awesome when you attacked us just now? The arrogant laughter spread throughout the entire forest, as if they were afraid that others would not know they were here. The female lord reached out and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth without making a sound. Instead, he drew out the 2 swords from his waist, and put on a desperate posture, his chest rising and falling violently. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sound broke through the air. Several sharp wooden thorns shot out from the tree trunks above their heads, heading straight for their vital points at the same time. A large number of vines rushed out from the ground, blocking their retreat. Who? The 3 big men shouted loudly, and immediately turned around to block the wooden thorns with their weapons. They were both knocked back a few steps. Puff! Unexpectedly, the sound of flesh and blood being pierced was heard, causing them to freeze on the spot. Because among the 3 of them, no one was hit by the attack, let alone such a sound. But immediately, they thought of something and turned back to look at the female lord, who was leaning on the tree trunk. The female lord was seen with her eyes wide open at this time, looking at the vines penetrating through her abdomen with an expression of disbelief. Good performance, don't do it next time. Lin Yu, who was hiding behind the tree trunk, slowly appeared, and looked at the people below with a playful expression. As early as when several people appeared, Lin Yu felt something abnormal, because these guys acted too openly, which was definitely the stupidest behavior in this dangerous first-level space. But it was the performance of the female lord that finally convinced him that these 4 people were working together. She is so clean. He was so clean that his clothes were almost spotless, and he didn't look like someone who was being hunted and running for his life. And if you look carefully, you will find that her breathing is very steady. Although you can't see the other party's appearance clearly, you can still clearly feel it from his breath. As for the 3 guys loudly announcing their identities, they obviously wanted to attract prey and summon their companions from the Taixuan world. Have to say, these guys are smart. I thought of using this method to gather companions from the beginning. It's a pity that they met Lin Yu. Lin Yu didn't have any thoughts of pity for her. Even if she guessed the wrong result, he would just kill her. There was nothing to worry about. The remaining 3 people obviously didn't expect Lin Yu to see through their tricks so easily, and they immediately became vigilant. Who is coming? One of them shouted loudly. The series of attacks just now were definitely not something that ordinary 9th level lords could possess, which gave them a vague feeling of bad premonition. Originally, they wanted to use this drama of chasing and killing to lure those idiots who are heroes who save beautiful women, but he didn't expect that he would lose a lot of money and lose a teammate in vain. It doesn't matter who I am. You just need to know that I will kill every person I see in the Taixuan realm. Lin Yu's extremely indifferent voice slowly sounded. Kill one on sight. How arrogant. Boy, who do you think you are? How dare you go against our Taixuan realm? Stop talking nonsense to him. Come together and kill him. While shouting angrily, the three of them stopped talking nonsense, picked up their weapons and rushed towards Lin Yu, outflanking him from 3 directions. Drink. The souls of the big man holding the mace exploded, and his whole body turned into a cannonball, and jumped in front of Lin Yu. The mace swung out, blowing up a terrifying hurricane. The other 2 people followed closely, raising their knives, and bringing down their swords. A large piece of cold light appeared, heading towards Lin Yu's head. Boom! There was a loud bang. The tree trunks standing under their feet were instantly blown to pieces. Lin Yu, who was standing on the tree trunk, was directly hit by the mace. With a bang, he flew backwards like a rag, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Success. The 3 of them were pleasantly surprised. I thought that Lin Yu was very capable and difficult to deal with, but I didn't expect that he was just strong on the outside but strong on the inside, and was easily hit hard by a combined attack. Let them worry for nothing. Careful. Unexpectedly, the man holding the long knife suddenly screamed, and looked behind the big man. Lin Yu, who was originally blasted out, appeared there without any trace of injury at any time. He raised his arm and the Ice Soul Sword suddenly struck out. When the big man reacted in time, blocked the attack with his mace, and turned over from the tree to the ground. However, as soon as his feet landed on the ground, a circle of invisible ripples centered on him, and swayed rapidly in all directions. The originally dense jungle edge suddenly turned into a thorn garden with blue roses growing everywhere. Fantasy. The big man was shocked and immediately stood up to alert his surroundings. He found that his 2 companions had disappeared, and he was left alone in the garden. He could not tell the direction at all, and there was no sound. There were only strips of thorns that were constantly swimming. It's a small trick. Let me break it. In the middle of the explosion, he directly exerted 12% of his strength, and the mace in his hand hit the ground. However, how can the deep blue illusion blessed by 4 fragments of the Godhead be easily broken? As soon as the mace was lifted, all the blue thorns around him suddenly rushed out, entangled his body and weapon, and lifted his whole body into the air. The sharp thorns on the thorns dug deeply into his body, oozing out large amounts of blood. Get away! The big man struggled hard, broke the thorns on his body, and fell back to the ground again. At the same time, a piece of chest armor on his body lit up, and a flash of light erupted in his eyes. The originally ferocious blue thorns around them quickly dissipated under the blessing of the light, and soon returned to the original forest scene. Psychic resistance equipment. On the tree trunk, Lin Yu looked at the chest armor on the big man in surprise. The power of the deep blue illusion skill he activated with the power of rules was 40% higher than that of the soldiers. Generally, only those who are mentally strong enough or wear spiritual resistance equipment can break free from the illusion so quickly. Obviously, the other party is the latter. After all, spiritual resistance equipment is not difficult for 9th level lords to obtain. Lin Yu just didn't expect that someone would give up physical defense attributes and wear such unorthodox resistance equipment. The big man who broke free from the illusion finally saw the surrounding scene clearly, but he was shocked to find that his 2 companions were bleeding from 7 holes and were hanging upside down from the tree by several vines. Then there was a flash of light and the force teleported away from the tower. In just one confrontation, 2 9th level lords were killed instantly. The big man's pupils suddenly shrank to the extreme, and a turmoil rose in his heart. What kind of monster did they encounter this time? Their strength is so terrifying. He didn't dare to think too much. He turned around and ran away with the mace, and fled deep into the jungle, several times faster than when he came. I told you, none of you can escape. Lin Yu's cold voice came, making the big man tremble in shock. When he turned around, he saw a sky full of leaves suddenly rising above the entire forest, sweeping towards him like a raging tide. The horrific scene immediately made his face turn pale. Before he even had time to resist, his whole body was submerged by the leaves, and he was forcibly teleported away with a shrill scream. Since then, all 4 people in Taixuan realm were killed. Lin Yu's kill count also increased to 11, and he was only 9 short of reaching the 2nd floor of the Tower of Luck. Not bad. Lin Yu smiled slightly, very satisfied with the power of the skills blessed by the 4 divine fragments. At least it is very easy to deal with these ordinary 9th level lords, especially in the forest terrain. The plant type skills are even more weird and changeable, making them difficult to guard against, and killing a team is no problem. Seeing that all the enemies had been eliminated, He did not stay any longer and continued to rush into the forest, disappearing among the crisscrossing tree trunks in a blink of an eye. But didn't notice? Behind a big tree in the distance, several pairs of eyes witnessed the entire battle. Did you just see it? One of them swallowed, his eyes full of shock. They were all attracted by the movement made by a few people from Taixuan realm just now. I originally planned to see if I could pick up the missed items and accumulate clicks to kill them. Unexpectedly, he happened to catch Lin Yu fighting with several people from Taixuan realm. No, it can't be called a war at all, but massacre, complete murder, not even on the same level. If I read it correctly, that one should be the power of rules. Right, another person said blankly. It shouldn't be wrong. Only the power of rules can control so many attack methods at one time. So that person has completed the journey of becoming a saint and successfully condensed the fragments of the Godhead. The people around him were all shocked when they heard this, and their eyes widened. I didn't expect to meet such a person here. Those attacks just now are probably not comparable to those perverts in the 10 major realms, right? More than that, I feel more than one level better than those perverts. I feel the same way. Fortunately, I didn't rush directly to him just now. Forget it, let's get out of here first. It will be bad if we are touched by that kind of monster. Several lords were talking in low voices, their faces full of fear. Originally, they all came from different realms, and it stands to reason that if they met together, they would at least cause a big war. But because of Lin Yu's appearance, they no longer had any intention of fighting and just wanted to leave this place of right and wrong as soon as possible. A few were even more decisive, leaving the forest area directly and rushing into the desert in the opposite direction. The dozen or so lords who had originally gathered all disappeared within a short time, causing the entire forest periphery to become quiet again. The other side, outside the Tower of Luck, after an hour of fighting, many people had been eliminated and they all gathered around the Tower of Luck. Look, someone is on the second floor again. At this time, an exclamation sounded, attracting Evrion's attention to the tower. It seems to be someone from the Holy Light realm. So fast. There are people in the Void World who have climbed to the second level. The same goes for the Eternal Realm. As expected, it is worthy of being one of the top 10 realms. Someone has reached the second level so quickly. The lords were talking a lot, looking at the number of people who had passed the level recorded on each floor of the Tower of Luck. Every time I see someone advance, there will be a burst of exclamation, especially when they saw people from their own realm being promoted. Those lords cheered even more. In contrast, the atmosphere of the primitive team in a certain corner is not so good. The eliminated lords gathered together and nervously looked at the information on the tower. What's going on? It's been so long. Why hasn't anyone below the 10th level in our realm climbed to the second floor? A middle-aged man said anxiously. Among the clearance information on the entire second floor, only the 10th and 11th levels and the Great Emperor appeared in the primitive world. However, the level below 10th level has always been empty. So far, no one has successfully passed the first level test. Don't be impatient, an old man on the side said to comfort him. Now the people in the 10 major realms have just started to pass the level. After a while, the number of people should start to increase. Indeed, our primitive world cannot compare with the top 10 realms after all. We just hope we don't fall too far behind. Another lord followed closely. Can I not be anxious? This is about the distribution of luck in our realm. The middle-aged man looked back at the two people with an annoyed look on his face. If I had known this, I should have been more careful just now, otherwise I wouldn't have been eliminated so quickly. The luck distribution of the Chaos Treasure is calculated based on the number of levels cleared in each realm. The higher the clearance level, the more people climb to the top, and the more luck will naturally be allocated. In addition, there is no real death in the tower. So many lords are trying their best to kill the enemies, hoping to reach a higher level and contribute to their realm. He was eliminated on the first floor. It can be said that he made almost no contribution. He can only wait until the number of challenges is reset tomorrow before he can enter the tower again to challenge. It is strange that he is not in a hurry. Look, there are 9 levels in our realm reaching the second floor. Suddenly, a shout interrupted the conversation of several people. The waiting lords of the primitive world were suddenly shocked and immediately looked at the second level information. Sure enough, the name of the primitive world appeared in the 9th level column. There is also a 1 at the back that represents the number of clearances. The second floor of the Tower of Luck. On top of a huge grassland, the light lit up, and Lin Yu, who had passed the first level of trial, appeared here. Congratulations! You have successfully climbed to the second floor of the Tower of Luck. The trial is about to begin. Please be prepared. Listening to the prompts in his mind, Lin Yu couldn't help but look around. The entire grassland was empty except for a patch of green and yellow weeds. There is a circle of hills surrounding the edge of the plain, separated by a thin light curtain. It seems that the second level of trials should be conducted here. Looking around, There were only him and a few scattered figures on the grassland, scattered in every corner, all looking around curiously. Aha! At this moment, 2 white lights lit up. 2 more lords were teleported up. They should be the ones who had just passed the first trial. That is to say, those who appear here are the first batch of lords who have passed the first level of trials and come to the second level, and they are also the most powerful group. In surprise, Lin Yu immediately began to look at the other lords. Then I felt a very familiar aura on several of them. The power of rules. From those people, Lin Yu actually felt the aura of the power of rules. Although it is much weaker than his 4 fragments of Godhead, it does exist. Could it be that? Is this the evil genius that the lords mentioned before, who has completed the path to sainthood and condensed the fragments of his Godhead? No wonder they could reach the second floor so quickly. These people are probably not weak in strength. There are also several other lords, who have just teleported over. Although there is no regular aura on his body, his aura is extremely powerful, far beyond the average 9th level, and he is probably a leader in all walks of life. And just as Lin Yu was sizing them up, these lords were also sizing him up, all of them showing surprise, because Lin Yu had not activated the 4-leaf clover protection, or any strengthening skills at this time. His aura was weaker than that of everyone present. With such strength, he was able to climb to the second floor, at the same time as them, which naturally attracted their attention. After all, geniuses have their own pride. No one should be allowed to use trickery to get on the same level as them. So naturally, some people showed disdain and classified Lin Yu as the kind of person who relied on trickery to pass the test. Hey, isn't this Adolf from the Holy Light Realm? Are you still alive? Suddenly, a sarcastic voice sounded from a corner. A tall demon lord with a pair of purple wings on his back came to an angel lord, and seemed to recognize his identity. Mammon, I didn't expect you to be here, the angel lord said in a deep voice. His voice was not loud, but it reached the ears of all the lords clearly, causing a commotion immediately. Adolf and Mammon are the proud sons of the Holy Light Realm and the Demonic Element Realm respectively. In less than 5 years, he has successfully condensed the fragments of his Godhead, and his strength is definitely the top among all realms. As long as they are willing, they can even rise to the 10th level immediately, and their future is bright. Unexpectedly, these 2 evil figures would appear here at the same time, which shocked the other lords and started talking among themselves in private. Lin Yu in the corner naturally heard their discussion, and was surprised. The Holy Light Realm and the Demonic Element Realm are both one of the 10 major realms. They are mainly composed of Angel Clan and Demon Clan lords respectively. These 2 realms are already hostile to each other, and now they belong to the Realm Alliance and Anti-Alliance camps. They may start fighting directly later. In this case, he can take this opportunity to see the strength of these so-called geniuses and prepare in advance. And as time goes by, there are more and more lords on the grassland. People are constantly passing the first level trials and being teleported to the second level space. Screams of surprise are gradually heard in their ears. Look, that seems to be Liu Qingyu from the demon world. It's her. I remember her weapon is a whip. There is also the heaviness of the eternal world. I have seen that Xuanwu bodyguard once. That one over there. Can't it be Osiri, the god of death, in the void world? Even these people are here. There will probably be a good show later, the lords kept exclaiming, and they were all attracted by the powerful figures that appeared one after another. These people all have strong auras, and are almost all geniuses from all walks of life. Naturally, they can be easily identified. When the other lords saw this, they scattered in shock and ran to the edge of the grassland, giving up the center position. In the blink of an eye, only those monster-level lords were left in the center of the entire grassland. Their auras surged and collided fiercely. The air was filled with a strong smell of gunpowder. Obviously, these people all want to prove the power of their own realm, and they have no intention of backing down when facing geniuses from other realms. Lin Yu is not as stupid as them, exposing himself in the middle of the crowd just to save face. So soon he came to the edge of the field, secretly paying attention to the surrounding situation and waiting for opportunities. Gradually, there are more and more lords on the grassland, until there were more than 10,000 people, almost filling half of the plain. A warning finally sounded in the sky. Dear lords, please note that the second-level trial of the Tower of Luck and Natural Selection has officially begun. There are currently 10,000 people in the venue. Please reduce the number of people to half within the designated time. Those who survive in the end will be directly promoted to the next level. If the number of people remaining exceeds half, the lords will be randomly selected and forcibly eliminated until the number of people reaches half. 321 countdown begins. Natural selection. Upon hearing the prompt, all the lords were stunned and looked up at the sky. But in the next second, they reacted and their expressions suddenly changed, because in the sky, a 60-minute countdown number suddenly appeared, ticking continuously, with the number 10,000 next to it, representing the number of lords in the field. Could it be that? The rules of this second level are to let them kill each other during this period of time, until half of them are left. 1/2 chance of elimination. This is too cruel. Immediately, the lords drew their weapons, and became wary of each other. Puff, ah. Suddenly, a scream sounded from the crowd. A lord was not paying attention, and his chest was pierced by a long sword, and he was teleported away from the field. The numbers in the sky also jumped, and turned into 9,999, which shocked the lords. Fuck, you really want us to kill each other? Only half of the people can advance. Wouldn't that mean that only 5,000 people can be left? No matter what, in order to advance, kill, come together, kill them, go to hell. In an instant, the entire plane was in chaos. Lords from all walks of life came together to fight each other in every corner. Some even formed temporary gangs to surround and kill other lords who were alone. After all, if the number of people exceeds half when the time is up, they will be randomly eliminated. They dare not gamble, so the best way is to kill less than half the number of people, so that they can 100% advance. Lin Yu in the corner did not expect that the second level would have such rules. Before he could react, 5 lords roared and rushed towards him, their weapons filled with surging power without reservation. They probably thought he was a soft persimmon, and wanted to eliminate him first. Lin Yu's expression remained unchanged. He pulled out the sword from his waist, and thrust it into the ground. There was a loud boom, and wooden piles rushed out from the ground around his position, blocking the attack of several people. Then he turned his hand, and pressed it on the wooden piles, twisting them into 3 9th level tree demons. It is the skill of the flower essence soldier, the power of command. It can control plants and transform them into tree demons with the same attributes as itself, and the 9th level can control 3 of them at once. Rumble. With a loud sound, 3 huge tree demons appeared beside Lin Yu, protecting him. What happened? Tree demon. How come there's a tree demon here? Isn't this a skill of the plant-type soldiers? No, it's the power of rules. Retreat quickly. The expressions of the 5 lords changed drastically. They finally came to their senses, and left without thinking. However, just after running a few steps, the scene in front of me suddenly distorted, and turned into a blue garden full of thorns. No matter how they tried to escape, they could not get out of the garden. Instead, they were surrounded by thorns that emerged and attacked them crazily. Damn it, it's an illusion. Get out of my way. The 5 lords shouted angrily while resisting the attack of the thorns, and retreated in panic. 2 of the lords even bit their tongues fiercely. The severe pain finally allowed them to break away from the deep blue illusion, and return to the grassland. However, the remaining 3 people were unconsciously pierced by the wooden thorns rushed out by the tree demon, and were directly eliminated. Dead. What a powerful force of rules. The 2 people who escaped were horrified, their eyes widened to the extreme. In just one face-to-face encounter, he killed 3 9th level lords instantly. Even those monsters from the 10 major realms might not be able to do it, and they have never heard of such a terrifying plant lord in all the worlds. Could it be an old monster hidden in the 10 realms? In fear, his speed suddenly increased, and he tried his best to escape. Chase. Of course Lin Yu would not let them go so easily. After giving the order, the 3 tree demons followed the 2 men with heavy steps. At the same time, wooden thorns rushed out and attacked the 2 men. The vast scene naturally attracted the attention of other surrounding lords, who all looked over in shock, because they didn't expect it. In this remote corner, there was actually a lord with a fragment of his godhead hidden, and everyone immediately fled in panic. Plant type. In the middle of the grassland, the weight of the eternal world also noticed this side and frowned. His target this time is not just ordinary lords, but also elites from all walks of life. As long as those elites are eliminated, their eternal world will reduce a lot of competition, and the luck they will eventually be allocated will naturally be more. Thinking of this, he sneered heavily. The soles of his feet suddenly exploded, and the whole thing turned into sharp arrows and rushed towards Lin Yu, at the edge. Lin Yu, who was chasing the 2 lords, soon realized that Xingxing was rapidly approaching him and stopped. Regarding this guy, he had just heard other lords discuss it. Coming from the Eternal Realm, his strength ranks at the forefront of all realms, and he is a beast-type lord, who is the main defensive unit. The most important thing is that he also successfully condensed the fragments of his godhead. He didn't expect that such a person would target him from the beginning, which really surprised Lin Yu. Even the few nearby geniuses from all walks of life also looked over. To be able to let Zhong take action himself, that guy is probably going to suffer. Isn't it true? Didn't you see the tree demon next to him? What about the tree demon? Plant attacks are inherently weaker. Indeed, although I don't want to admit it, under the same conditions, heavy defense cannot be easily broken, not to mention the attack is not weak. Poor guy, he was heavily targeted from the beginning, and will probably be eliminated. The racial talent of the beast type has a tearing effect when attacking, which can ignore part of the enemy's defense and even cause bleeding damage. Although the defense of the plant type is strong, it is just offset by the talent of the beast type, coupled with the fact that the Lord Zhongzhong was originally the main defense. It can be said that they have both attack and defense. Their strength is so tyrannical that they are one of the opponents they least want to encounter. So when they saw Lin Yu being targeted from the beginning, these people couldn't help but gloat about his misfortune and mourned for Lin Yu in their hearts. At the same time, I am glad that there is one less competitor. Boy, I will be your opponent. Just after hearing a heavy shout, a strong body came to rest, and the fist filled with surging power hit Lin Yu straight. Wherever the fist wind struck, the air shook violently. Boom! There was a muffled sound, and Lin Yu's ice sword lay in front of him, blocking the swift blow. The expression that was originally heavy and menacing suddenly changed. He felt a terrifying force coming from his fist, which knocked him away. He took several steps back before he could stop himself. What's going on? The heavy weight was blocked directly. Did you keep a secret? The other lords who were fighting nearby noticed this scene, and couldn't help but become confused, thinking that the heavy weight was letting go of water. And Xinsheng, who had just confronted Lin Yu, had a solemn expression on his face and stared at Lin Yu closely. You are very good, he said in a deep voice, but you can't beat me at this level. With a loud shout, the heavy soles of his feet exploded again, and his whole body shot out like a cannonball, punching Lin Yu. This time, the fist wind was more powerful than before, accompanied by a sonic boom, and even had the appearance of breaking through space. Lin Yu didn't think much as he slashed out with his broadsword, and the icy breath turned into sharp wooden thorns, passing through an afterimage in the air and shooting towards Xinsheng. Ding ding ding, the crisp sound kept echoing in my ears. Lin Yu was surprised to find that, when his attack landed on Xinsheng, it was bounced off by an invisible wall, unable to hurt him at all. Even the deep blue illusion activated at the same time had no effect. It's useless. This level of attack can't hurt me, he shouted arrogantly, and punched Lin Yu's chest with his fist, creating a hurricane. Lin Yu raised his hand to block, and with a bang, his whole body flew up and retreated behind the tree demon. Then the three tree demons roared and surrounded Xinsheng. They swung their vine whips wildly and launched a fierce attack on Xinsheng. I told you, this level of attack is useless to me. His body sank heavily and he assumed the posture of a beast. Immediately afterwards, a huge semicircular turtle shield appeared, knocking all the vine whips away, making it impossible to get even close to him. Here he comes. Heavy's strongest skill, Xuanwu Protection. The lord who had been paying attention to the battle here couldn't help but exclaimed. Xuanwu Protection. It is a heavy fame skill with extremely amazing defense power. Basically no one at the same level can break through his defense. Even the few geniuses who had condensed fragments of their godhead looked solemn, because even they have no way to deal with the heavy skill. They can only passively take the beating, or stay away and wait until the effect of the skill ends. But the problem is, the heavy Xuanwu Protection is different from the military skills. With the blessing of his own unique defensive ability, he can maintain it almost indefinitely. There is only a gap of a few breaths. Even if it is dispelled, it can be used again immediately. Once entangled, it is a passive situation of being beaten. Therefore, even the lords who were stronger than Zhong were reluctant to mess with him, and avoided him. Drink. Hearing a heavy shout from the encirclement, he used the Xuanwu barrier to directly break through the encirclement of 3 9th level tree demons, and rush towards Lin Yu again. The speed is so fast that it is simply not the speed that a defensive lord should have. That guy probably won't be able to stand it anymore. It's a pity. With his ability to condense the fragments of his godhead, he should be able to at least reach the 3rd level. There's nothing I can do about it. Who made him feel so heavy? Several lords who were huddled together and hiding in the corner were talking in low voices. They couldn't help but feel sorry for Lin Yu, not thinking that he could withstand the heavy offensive. Some people even stayed away quietly, fearing that Zhong would target them later. However, what everyone didn't expect was, facing the heavy and fierce offensive, Lin Yu not only did not flinch, but went straight forward to meet it. 4 leaves of protection launch. The power of rules in Lin Yu's body exploded, and he directly activated the 4-leaf clover's strengthening skills, increasing all attributes by 42%. The momentum that was originally equal to the heaviness suddenly increased, and reached an extremely exaggerated level. The heavy man who rushed forward was shocked. Before he could react, a large number of vines suddenly shot out from the soles of his feet, and wrapped around the round turtle shell around his body. Then, Lin Yu raised his arm, and the wood thorns all over the sky condensed and turned into afterimages and shot towards him, hitting the turtle shell with bang bang. He also wanted to ridicule him, but the next second, there was a crisp click sound, and a large number of cracks suddenly appeared in the Xuanwu Protection, which is known as the strongest defense at its level. The cracks quickly spread around, and finally exploded into countless fragments, dissipating into the air. The vines that were originally wrapped around the turtle shell also shrank, and wrapped around the heavy body. Am I reading this correctly? The heavy Xuanwu protection was actually broken. How can it be? The lords exclaimed, and they were all shocked to see the wooden thorns and exploding fragments all over the sky. As for Xinsheng, who was surrounded by vines, his expression changed drastically. He flew backwards like a sharp arrow and rushed out of the vines. At the same time, the power of rules exploded, covering his body with a layer of hard rock armor to block the remaining attacks. Unexpectedly, the ice aura contained in the vines exploded at this moment, freezing him in place instantly. It is the effect of the Frost Spirit suit. After 10 layers of frost, the enemy will be frozen for 3 seconds, but it was beyond Lin Yu's expectation. Just when he was about to take this opportunity to kill him, a heavy and cold voice suddenly sounded. It's great that you can push me to this point. The sound fell, and the frozen state exploded. It only took a second for Xinsheng to break free from the control of the ice and tear off the surrounding vines, and the dark golden armor on his body also lit up with a strange light. The aura that was originally extremely heavy suddenly changed and became extremely fierce. This is a transition between offense and defense. It's the effect of the heavy, 10th level equipment. The exclamations of the lords nearby reached Lin Yu's ears one after another, making him feel surprised. It is rare to find equipment with such attributes for switching between offense and defense, and it's still level 10 equipment. If he guessed correctly, this should have been specially customized by Zhongshan to suit his own defense capabilities. The price of customizing level 10 equipment is not low. It is not like those 10th level equipment on the market, because its attributes have been fixed and the price can only be sold for a few 100 million mana. Customization requires more energy and time from the blacksmith, and the requirements for materials are also extremely stringent. There are easily tens, or even billions of magic energy. In order to jump in line, some even spent a lot of money, asking forging masters to take action, and also to deal with other lords in line. The interest relationship in this can be very complicated. If Lin Yu hadn't known Magan, he probably would have only been able to buy the 10th level equipment on the market with fixed attributes. One can imagine how much effort was put into this heavy piece of equipment, which was left until the very end before it was finally used. With the blessing of offensive and defensive transitions, the heavy defense and attack were directly swapped, which suddenly made his strength soar to a very exaggerated level, and even showed signs of overpowering Lin Yu. Is this your final resort? Lin Yu's expression remained unchanged, and he looked at Xinsheng with interest. If it weren't for the fact that the Frost Spirit armor on his body was not weak in attributes and it was a suit, he would have wanted to snatch the opponent's equipment and replace it. After all, the defense of the plant system is one of the best among all factions. If he switches between offense and defense, his attack power will definitely be greatly improved, which is a very good explosive method. So what? The heavy voice sounded again. I want to see how you can block my attack. While drinking loudly, Zhang Shen's whole body shot towards Lin Yu like a wild beast out of its cage. The speed is so fast that the distance of more than 10 meters can be reached in an instant. Then he opened his hands on both sides, and his palms turned into sharp claws, and he swung them out from bottom to top. Aha! 10 sharp air blades appeared out of thin air and attacked Lin Yu. It is the most ferocious attack method of the beast type, the tearing claw. The extremely powerful power immediately made the lords beside him exclaim in surprise. Even the geniuses from the top 10 realms had serious expressions on their faces and gradually stopped the ongoing battle. However, just when everyone thought Lin Yu couldn't block this attack, a dazzling red light suddenly appeared on Lin Yu's body, and his whole aura suddenly increased. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the imaginary body being torn apart did not appear. On the contrary, the heavy weight that rushed up was blasted away at a faster speed than when it came. In Evrion's disbelieving eyes, he fell heavily to the ground more than 10 meters away, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Quiet. The whole surrounding was silent. The lords all stood there stunned, looking at the heavy weight being blown away in shock. Known as the 9th level's strongest defense, the genius of the eternal world was defeated like this. How can this be? In shock, they couldn't help but look at Lin Yu, who was still standing there, and even their eyes changed. Those who just thought that Lin Yu would lose were even more unbelievable. Just one blow. It was hit hard. Which realm is he from? You? In the distance, he was supporting his body with heavy difficulty, his eyes full of astonishment and disbelief. He didn't understand why he was defeated so completely even though he had used so many methods. Is this really the strength that a 9th level lord can possess? Unfortunately, without giving him a chance to think about it, countless vines suddenly rushed out and instantly penetrated his chest, knocking him out. It also shocked everyone around him, and subconsciously took half a step back. Even the few geniuses from the 10 major realms stared at Lin Yu, with solemn expressions. "What do you think?" one of them asked in a low voice. "I can't tell which realm it is from." Another person shook his head and said, "There are only a few plant types that have successfully condensed their godhood, but none of them have such strong strength. Is it the recently condensed divine power? Impossible. It is impossible for the newly condensed Godhead to reach this point. It seems that there is another extraordinary person in this world. If you have a chance, you should go and meet him." That's the intention. But now the focus is still on trials. During the chat, these geniuses temporarily gave up their plans to test Lin Yu and focused their attention on the trial again. Other weaker lords gradually moved away and did not dare to approach the other side. On the wasteland outside the tower, a white light lit up, and the eliminated heavyweight was directly transferred to the team of the Realm Alliance, which immediately attracted the attention of the lords from other realms. Strange, isn't that the weight of the Eternal World? How did he teleport out? It's true. Could it be that he was also eliminated? Holy crap, is it true? Shen Shen was actually eliminated. Didn't you say that he had condensed the fragments of his godhead before? Who could be so fierce that he could eliminate him? What happened in the tower? Seeing the heavy weight that appeared outside the tower, the lords exclaimed, looking very surprised and extremely shocked. To know the heavy strength is one of the best even in the entire world, and the defensive capabilities are extremely amazing. Coupled with the blessing of the Godhead fragments, it is basically impossible for a lord of the same level to defeat him, let alone kill him and eliminate him. One can imagine how shocked they were when they saw the heavy appearance. Heaviness, as the person involved had a gloomy look on his face and said nothing. After taking a deep look at the Tower of Luck, he turned around and left, disappearing from everyone's sight after a while. The battle in the second floor space is still continuing. The entire plane was filled with the shouts and roars of the lords. The news that Shen Shen was eliminated did not have much impact on the chaotic battle situation, and only a small number of people even knew about it. Just a little while later, many lords came from other places to fight against Lin Yu and involved him. To this, Lin Yu naturally accepts everyone who comes. Directly use means to kill them one by one and reduce the number of people as much as possible. It wasn't until more than half an hour passed that a warning finally sounded in the sky. Congratulations to all lords. The trial requirements have been met and the trial is over. The third floor will be transferred soon. Please be prepared. Finished. There are 5,000 people so soon. Great. Finally passed. The 5,000 surviving lords were excited and cheered on the spot. Ascending to the third level, the rewards they receive at the end will definitely be richer, and the luck assigned to the realm they belong to will eventually increase. Even Lin Yu, in the crowd, couldn't help but smile, looking forward to the third level trial even more. Then the light came on and everyone disappeared in an instant at the same time. In several other second floor spaces, many lords passed the trials and were also transported to the third floor. A large number of domain names appeared on the originally sparse outer tower wall, causing lords from all walks of life outside the tower to exclaim in surprise. Aha! There was a flash of light. Lin Yu was transported to a circular duel arena. The duel arena is not big, and there is no audience in the seats. It seems that the third level trial should be different from the group battles on the first two levels, and becomes a single battle. As expected, as soon as he stood still, a warning sounded above his head. Welcome to the third floor of the Tower of Luck. Please defeat your opponent and enter the next level of trial. When the prompt fell, a light lit up on the opposite side of the arena, and a 9th level lord, like Lin Yu, was teleported in. As long as you defeat your opponent, you can successfully advance. Lin Yu was surprised and looked at the other party silently. It seems that the trials on the first and second levels are just for a preliminary screening to weed out all those who fish in troubled waters. After reaching the third level, the trial rules changed and became a face-to-face battle between lords. That is to say, if you want to get to a higher level, you have to step on other lords to get to the top. This elimination mechanism is really cruel. I'm afraid that by the time we reach the 7th or 8th floor, there won't be many lords left, right? And the people you encounter are probably elites from all walks of life, which means the difficulty becomes more and more difficult as you go to the back. If you want to stand out from so many lords, you must be strong enough. I surrender. Suddenly, the lord opposite shouted, interrupting Lin Yu's thoughts. What's the situation? This guy actually gave up directly. Lin Yu was stunned for a moment. This development was obviously beyond his expectation, but I don't know. The lord opposite was already cursing at his mother, because he recognized at a glance that Lin Yu was the man who had just eliminated Shen Shen on the second floor. Even a heavy character is beaten violently. How can this be fun? He didn't expect that he would be so unlucky to encounter such a pervert right from the beginning, which made him deeply feel the malice of this matching mechanism. With a wry smile, he was finally enveloped in light again and disappeared from the field. Lan Yu stared blankly at the direction in which he disappeared. Before he could react, a reminder sounded in his ears. Congratulations, you successfully passed the 3rd level test. It will be transferred to the next level soon. Please be prepared. Is this promotion? At this time, Lin Yu's expression was extremely strange, and he could vaguely guess the reason. But this is good, it saves him a battle. The moment the prompt fell, he was also shrouded in light and teleported away from the 3rd level of space. Look, someone in our realm has reached the 4th level. Outside the Tower of Luck, the team of primitive lords, who had been paying attention to the information on the tower, also noticed the changes on the tower and suddenly exclaimed, it's true. A 9th level lord in our realm has reached the 4th floor, and he is also the first 9th level lord to reach the 4th floor. It's faster than those geniuses from the 10 major realms. Who is so powerful? Could it be those old lords in front? Even if they are, their strength shouldn't be as strong as those from the 10 major realms, right? The entire team in the primitive world suddenly became commotion, and everyone was overjoyed. Unexpectedly, the first person to reach the 9th level of the 4th floor was from their realm. No wonder they were so excited, because at this time, the emperors and kings from all walks of life have already crossed the 5th floor and started to attack towards the 10th floor. But the lords below the 10th level are still in the first 3 levels, and there is not even a 4th level. So seeing a 9th level lord appear, the crowd couldn't help but feel a little commotion. Even the lords in other realms were attracted by this sudden change, and started talking about it. Then after a while, the names of the 10 major realms finally appeared one after another, followed by the 4th level of space, and then some familiar large realms appeared one after another. However, what everyone didn't expect was, at this moment, the message on the wall of the 5-story tower suddenly jumped. The 3 characters, Primitive Realm, once again appeared on the 5th floor, taking the lead. Damn it, it's the 5th floor. Did I read that correctly? You've reached another level so quickly. It's only been less than 2 minutes. There was an uproar among the crowd outside the tower. Everyone was shocked by this sudden change. But what shocked them even more was what came next. The 3 characters, Primitive Realm, stayed on the 5th floor for more than 10 seconds, then suddenly disappeared, and suddenly appeared on the 6th floor. Ascend 3 floors in a row. What's going on? The lords were completely shocked. They all stared at the information on the 6th floor with wide eyes. He was also the only 9th level lord who was equal to the emperor and the kings. This only took a few minutes. Primitive Realm. Why have you never heard of this realm? I haven't heard of it either. It seems to be a human realm, and its strength can only be ranked in the middle among all realms. This lord from the medium realm is actually stronger than those from the large realm. The words of the lords were full of shock and even some disbelief. After all, the resources in those large realms are not just for show. The overall strength of the lords alone is not comparable to that of the medium realms. Moreover, the number of top geniuses in the large realm is definitely much greater than that in the medium realm. What's more, this time there are many 9th level lords in the 10 major realms who have condensed fragments of the Godhead, and their strength is terrifying. Even though they were still ahead, it was difficult not to doubt the authenticity of this matter, but the facts before them made them have no choice but to believe it. I bet he can't stay ahead. I guess I didn't encounter those perverts from the big realm, otherwise I would have been eliminated long ago. I think so too. I heard that after the 3rd level, it is basically a personal battle between lords. He should soon encounter those from the larger realm. Lords from all walks of life were talking a lot and were not optimistic about the primitive world's lead. And at this time, inside the 6th floor space, after waiting for nearly 20 minutes, Lin Yu finally ushered in his next opponent, a woman playing the guqin in her hand, dressed in plain clothes, elegant and out of this world. Female lord. Lin Yu looked at the opponent who appeared on the field in surprise. The lords who can reach the 6th floor are almost very powerful. At least they should be among the top ones at the same level. And the opponent's weapons are very strange. This was the first time he saw someone using the guqin as a weapon, and there was a faint aura of rules flowing around him, so the method might not be simple. And just as he was sizing him up, the female lord was also sizing him up, with a hint of surprise on her calm and elegant face. You are strong, she said calmly. The sound passes through the ears like silk and reaches straight into the soul. It is soft and soothing, making people indulge in it unconsciously. Mental control. Lin Yu was secretly shocked, feeling an invisible wave mixed in the sound, which almost caused him to fall into a temporary trance. Psychic control of the undead. Lin Yu did not take action immediately, but asked tentatively. Among the undead types, the Wraith-type soldiers have the ability to control their minds, and it is different from the plant's spiritual skills. Most of the spiritual skills of the plant system are based on area interference, and changing the enemy's 5 senses through environmental changes, thereby achieving the purpose of killing people invisible. The spiritual skills of the undead system are based on the method of converting the essence into reality to carry out a spiritual attack on a single enemy, which is more offensive. Even his words had a spiritual attack effect. The other party seemed to be an undead lord specializing in spiritual weapons, which was completely different from his elegant temperament, because just based on temperament, he thought it would be an angel type, or a plant type, or at worst it would be a human type. No matter how you think about it, it can't be compared with the undead system. You are the first person who is completely unaffected by my mental manipulation. The gentle and soft voice sounded again, a little more solemn than before, obviously feeling Lin Yu's strength. Psychic attackers are very sensitive to breath. Although Lin Yu's divine aura had been covered up, she could still vaguely feel an aura that made her heart palpitate. She knows he is no match for Lin Yu. Underneath the blurry face, a trace of unwillingness and hesitation finally emerged. But after a moment of silence, he still bit his lower lip and said, "My name is Ye Lingyan. Please give me your advice." After saying this, he stopped talking nonsense to Lin Yu. He held the guqin in front of him and plucked the strings suddenly with his slender fingers. In an instant, the bright sound of the piano swayed on the strings, spread rapidly in all directions, and turned into invisible ripples that shot towards Lin Yu. Ye Lingyan. Lin Yu frowned slightly, as if he had never heard of this name. Seeing the ripples turned into the sound of the piano coming towards him, he did not hold back anymore. He activated the Yotsuba protection and slashed out with a sword. The sword energy containing the breath of ice instantly cut away the sounds of the piano. It is the sword energy skill of Disaster Sword Bamboo, and his Frost Spirit suit has the property of reducing mental damage. He ignored the remaining sound of the piano, and suddenly rushed towards Ye Lingyan, who was standing on the edge of the arena. Jung, the music erupted again. Ye Lingyan obviously also knew that being close would be detrimental to her. The aura on Kinyan turned into a sky full of sharp blades, and struck at Lin Yu, and a burst of piercing sound was heard in the air. It was clearly an invisible attack, but it was as if the air had been cut open, and even the space above the dual arena was shaking violently. Just as Lin Yu was halfway through the rush, he felt a powerful spiritual attack surrounding him like a tide. If faced head-on, even he would suffer severe mental trauma. Moreover, the opponent is best at mental attacks, and illusion and charm skills will obviously not have much effect, let alone interrupt the action. Without daring to hesitate, he thrust the ice sword in his hand into the ground, and large thorns rushed out of the ground, forming a blue garden around him to protect him. Those sharp piano sounds swept through the air, rushed into the garden, and disappeared in an instant like a stone sinking into the sea. And under the interference of thorns, Ye Lingyan couldn't pinpoint Lin Yu's location accurately, and it was even harder to hit with his mental impact. Boom! There was a loud bang. Without any warning, vines rushed out from under Ye Lingyan's feet, and wrapped around her body, interrupting her movement of waving the strings. Blurred, Ye Lingyan gritted his teeth, and directly activated the insubstantial skill of the Wraith Soldier. His whole body gradually became void, turning into a wisp of smoke and drifting to the other side, and the vines were thrown away. Immediately afterwards, the sound of the piano sounded again, swishing towards the blue garden. He finally succeeded in cutting through the thorns that obscured his vision. However, what she didn't expect was, Lin Yu was not seen in the garden, only an empty patch of broken flowers. Before she could react, an after-image appeared behind her, with a flash of cold light. Puff! Ye Lingyan's arm was directly cut open. She groaned, feeling the terrifying ice breath seeping into her body along the wound, as if it was about to freeze her soul. In the end, he relied on the flickering skills of the Wraith soldiers to avoid vital points, and flickered into the field out of thin air. Looking back, she saw that Lin Yu had appeared above, where she was standing. "You are no match for me. Give up." Lin Yu stared at Ye Lingyan closely and said calmly, "Although the opponent's strength is very strong among 9th level lords, not even much weaker than the heavy opponent he encountered before, it is basically impossible to defeat him, because the gap in the number of Godhead fragments is not so easy to bridge. What's more, he also has the mental resistance of level 10 equipment, which happens to have a restraining effect on mental attacks. Even if the fight continues, the result will not change. I won't give up until I get to the top of the tower." Ye Lingyan gritted her teeth, endured the severe pain in her arm, and plucked the strings again. This time, her dialing speed was obviously much faster, and more urgent than before. The sound of the piano continued to sound, turning into countless resentful souls flying into the air, and she flew out immediately, widening the distance between herself and Lin Yu. In an instant, the innocent souls were flying back and forth all over the sky, heading straight towards Lin Yu amidst howls and screams. Wherever it goes, plants wither. The thorns and vines summoned by Lin Yu withered quickly, their vitality dissipated, and they turned into dead trees and fell to the ground. What a powerful attack method. Lin Yu was surprised. He didn't expect that the other party had such a powerful method in mind. The originally soft breath also became cold. Don't be careless. Immediately activate the ice shield on the frost spirit armor, and at the same time reach out and move. 5 mirror walls appear out of thin air, forming a square grid to protect him. Unexpectedly, those resentful spirits were not blocked at all, passing directly through the mirror wall and surrounding him. Zheng. At this time, the sound of the piano suddenly rose and turned into an invisible ripple. The resentful souls surrounding Lin Yu exploded when they touched the ripples, turning into a terrifying spiritual storm that swept towards him. Did you make it? Ye Lingian looked pale and looked towards the center of the mirror wall. Obviously, activating such a powerful skill consumes a lot of money on her. Buzz. But at this moment, a buzzing sound sounded. A more powerful mental wave suddenly erupted with Lin Yu as the center, instantly defeating the mental storm of those resentful souls. Immediately afterwards, Lin Yu's feet exploded, and he rushed out of the mirror wall and quickly approached Ye Lingian. How come? Ye Lingian was so shocked that she had no time to react, so she put away her guqin and moved aside to avoid Lin Yu's fierce sword energy. Then he played the piano tremblingly, shooting out a series of mental waves. While retreating, the wound on his arm was bleeding, but he didn't say a word. Why bother? With your strength, it is impossible to climb to the top of the tower. Lin Yu held the sword horizontally in front of him, using his spiritual power to block the attacks one after another. It can be clearly felt that the opponent's offensive is much weaker than before, and it no longer poses much threat to him. He didn't understand why Ye Lingian was so obsessed with the top of the tower. Even though I knew it was impossible to defeat him, I still persisted. And even if you can defeat him, so what? Is it possible to go up to the top of the tower casually? How can you know if you don't try? Ye Lingian gritted her teeth, her voice trembling with a hint of reluctance. Obviously she also knew that her chances of reaching the top of the tower were slim, but there seemed to be some obsession supporting her, making her unwilling to give up. This made Lin Yu couldn't help but recall what Sidu Jian said back then. Climbing to the top of the tower will give you the power to transcend the rules of this world. If the power beyond the rules of the world could be obtained so easily, no one would have climbed to the top of the tower for so long. But sometimes people are such contradictory creatures. Even though you know you can't do it, you will still try everything you can to seek that 1 in 10 million possibility, to seek that little star in the vast universe. This may be the biggest difference between humans and monsters. Thinking of this, he didn't say anything more. With a sharp look, he activated the instant shadow skill, and his speed suddenly doubled. Boom. There was an explosion under his feet, and his entire body turned into an afterimage and disappeared from the field. So fast. Ye Lingian's movement of waving the strings paused, but with her powerful mental perception, she was unable to capture Lin Yu's figure. Her eyes blurred as Lin Yu, holding a big knife, appeared beside her. Then with a flash of cold light, the cold blade was placed on her fair neck, scraping away a shallow streak of blood. Defeated. Ye Lingian felt bitter in her heart. The guqin in her hand slowly fell, and she finally gave up her resistance. Sometimes it's a good thing to let go of your obsessions. Lin Yu's calm voice came out slowly. I don't know if I said it to Ye Lingian or to myself. I understand, but there are some things that you can just let go of. Ye Lingian bit her lower lip tightly, but eventually it turned into a sigh. Then, she raised her head and stared at Lin Yu's blurred face, as if she wanted to remember him. Before you leave, can you tell me your name? No. Lin Yu shook his head, not intending to reveal his identity. After all, he now carries 4 fragments of Godhead and 1 complete Godhead. If he is targeted by a strong person, the consequences will be disastrous, especially on this dangerous battlefield. Oh well. There was a hint of disappointment in Ye Lingian's voice. Then, she directly chose to surrender. Her whole body was wrapped in light, and she was teleported away from the field. Congratulations, you successfully passed the 6th level trial. Transmission is about to take place. Please be prepared.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.